to a very special edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your co-host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me is my co-host, Richie Schneiderite. And guys, we had teased a bit of an announcement today. It's something Richie's kind of alluded to for a while, and now based on a preponderance of evidence and some new intel from multiple sources, Richie, you got an announcement to make.
Yeah, so I'm doing it. Today's the day. Skang, I know you're going to be pretty hyped on the boards because you've been kind of itching for me to do this for quite some time. But yeah, I'm submitting a FutureCast for Dylan Harper to Rutgers. This wow. Is it. This is this is pretty big news for Scarlet Knights, obviously. But yeah, I've talked to a couple people over the past couple days on everything is pointing towards Rutgers. I know there's been rumors about Indiana, but I was told they're not even a factor by a very close source. It was Rutgers or Duke, and it's still Rutgers in the lead. And based on everything we're hearing, that kind of factored into a recent decommitment too, because I'm not going to say the word intimidated, but that was the word that was used when I was talking to two different people. So
Delquan somehow either was under the impression that Dylan was coming or something along those lines and realized his playing time would be not as much as he would have hoped possibly. Is that kind of the vibe?
Yeah, pretty much. Like I said in our last pod, the Delquan Warren pod, ironically, Dylan is kind of a point guard. I know he's listed as a shooting guard, but I think that's almost just because of his build at 6'5", like 180, 190 maybe. But he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. He's going to take the ball up. And like I mentioned yesterday, if you're a Delquan Warren guy, it's like you're not second fiddle. You're probably third fiddle, maybe fourth if you count the big man. So mostly it's going to be – the ball's going to be mostly in Dylan and Ace's hands when and / if Dylan Harper ends up committing. Right now I'm pretty confident in it, though, and I'm confident enough to submit a FutureCast for it. Yeah.
So let's just go through what has pushed you over the edge. What was it specifically? Or you don't maybe have to use exact specifics, but what was it? What were some of the factors that made you decide this is the day I'm going to do it?
So basically the Delquan Warren thing happened. I reached out to a couple people, like I just mentioned, and that played a factor just because everyone's basically like, hey, like he decommitted because like it sounds like Dylan's coming. I was like, oh shit, like let me just check on a couple things before we jump the gun here, because that would be irresponsible journalism not to. So I had to reach out to a couple different people first, and then confirm that, and I confirmed it with like two others, and I'm like, this guy, one of them like has literally nothing to do with like anything in the Northeast. And it was just like, all right, well, shit. Like he's saying it too. Like this word's starting to trickle out. If I don't do it now, like I might be last. Like, but on top of that, he's Ace is so close with Dylan. They talk so much, like a lot. They played together on the AAU circuit with ALT not too long ago. That was what I was told. They obviously played at the USA basketball camp the week before, 2 weeks before. But the fact that Dylan went down there to play with ALT, I was told, is strictly because he wanted to make sure their play styles matched on the court. Did you get to do some of that with Did you get to do some of that with USA basketball? Yeah, a little bit, but it's a little different too. When you get to literally
setting. When you're running like scrimmages and you're running like drills, you can't really tell. They played, multiple full games together with AOT that weekend.
Yeah. And on top of it all, I'm going to say it. I'm not sure what the relationship is exactly, but I was told that Dylan has a very close relationship with Omar Cooper in Lifestyle Sports, which is the agency that he runs. Now the agency has Marlon Williamson, who's an assistant coach at Rutgers now. The agency has Ace Bailey, who's a commit at Rutgers, Jermichael Davis, who's a commit or soon to be signee / shiny, whatever you want to consider it. And Dylan's been going down to Atlanta, not just this year. He's been going down to Atlanta for a couple years, I was told, to work out with like the AOT and Cooper and all that. So everything is just tying together a little bit perfectly. On top of that, he has a great relationship with Brandon Knight. Brandon Knight has been killing it on the recruiting trail. I don't think I'm going to quote Richard Kent here on his Twitter. There is not a more important basketball assistant coach in college basketball right now than Brandon Knight. He's the reason Ace Bailey is coming to Rutgers. He's the reason that Dylan Harper is probably going to end up coming to Rutgers. He is dominating and earning every single penny of his paycheck, and I think that paycheck's probably going to get a little bit higher soon because I think he's going to get an extension. That's the word on the street, at least.
I mean, he deserves it.
Yeah.
He's definitely elevated our recruiting significantly. Probably don't land, like you said, either of our top targets in 24 without him. He's played a role in everybody's recruitment, and he just seems like a guy generally everybody likes. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So just see, you mentioned that Dylan's probably going to be a primary ball handler when he gets to college. Talk a little bit about his game, though. He's very versatile. He's got a college ready body already. I don't know how old he is exactly. He's probably 16 or 17. But talk a bit about his game and kind of what he brings as a player.
I mean, his comparison that everyone uses, I'm going to use it too, I guess, at this point. But it's James Harden. He could play the two guard. He could play the one guard.
He's a lefty either, by the way.
No, of course. But he can kind of play just about anything, like either guard role. He could be a facilitator at times and just kick it down to ace or play in fast break. He can take the ball on his own and score at will and kind of create his own space. He's been absolutely stellar this EYBL season. He's been averaging, I think it's like 19 or 18 or something like that. And on top of that, he's averaging like 5 or 6 rebounds. I'm looking now. I got to pull it up real quick. Overall, so far right now, after 2 EYBL events, he is averaging 19.3 points per game, 6.4 rebounds per game, 4.9 assists per game. Those are Harden-like numbers.
And those are EYBL events, not games. So there's multiple. There's probably 3 or 4 or 5 games played by each team at those events. So you're looking at probably about 10 games of a sample there.
It's absolutely insane. He's like a triple-double machine almost. And he could just score at will. He could drive and attack the rim, and he's not afraid of the contact. He can shoot the ball. He can create his own shot off the dribble. He's very rarely turning the ball over. So it's just like he kind of just fits that mold. Like he's going to be a competitor for that number 1 spot. And the crazy thing is Ace Bailey is also a competitor for that number 1 spot. Like it's just getting crazier and crazier. And I'll be honest, since covering this team and since taking over the website, 5-6 years ago now, I did not see this one coming. I did not see any of this coming.
No, and I mean, we've heard about Dylan as Ron's brother, who also was a basketball player for forever, basically since he signed. Like, his little brother's pretty good. And then it like slowly grew. It's like, no, he's really good. He's like, no, he's like a 5-star. No, he might be the best player in his class. Like the elevation Dylan has taken has been kind of a fun ride to watch. And, you're putting a FutureCast, so you're basically saying it's going to culminate in him committing to Rutgers and leading the offense and leading the team. Now, do you think that both these guys are more than likely one and dones, if you had to guess?
Yeah, for the most part, almost every top 10 kid is a one and done. Derek Lively, who averaged 4 points a game, is a one and done and getting projected in for multiple first rounds just because of his potential alone. So even if you, knock on wood, even if they stunk on the banks for a year, they're still probably going to the league.
Yeah, so. the Kyle Filipowskis of the world are the exception, not the rule.
Yeah. Going back to the rankings jump, he went from non-ranked in March. I'm looking at it for us. Non-ranked in, October 2021. February hit, he jumps to 46 right away. Then he jumps to 17, which was an insane leap. And then all of a sudden, this past March, he jumped to 3. So these leaps here, it's not like, I know it's the one leap is bigger than the other. Like the one's technically a 30-spot leap. But I'd argue that the 17-3 leap is bigger than that because it's just you have to surpass so many top names. And this is I shouldn't even say probably, this will be Rutgers' best class ever, without a doubt.
Yeah, and to make those kind of big jumps, it's not an exposure thing because obviously who his brother is, who his dad is, everybody knew who he was. Was it that he just grew a ton over the last 2 years? Is that kind of what happened?
Yeah, he's been growing nonstop. Like I said before, I think he's 6'5" now. I think when he first got on, when he started as a freshman at Don Bosco and was putting up buckets, he was skinny guard. I'd probably say maybe 6 foot if he's lucky. And was scoring at will at Bosco. You don't start at a prep school like Don Bosco Prep as a freshman unless you have some type of skill.
Yeah.
That goes the same for most New Jersey prep schools. But yeah, no, he was dominating, and then all of a sudden he started packing on a little bit of weight. He still didn't lose any type of speed, and then he grew a little bit too. So it was just kind of all of a sudden he just starts getting a better feel for the game, and he's like the perfect blend of like size and skill, and on top of it, he's a lefty too. So that he doesn't have the greatest length in the world, but he can score at will. Like it's just he's absolutely dominant. And if you haven't watched his tape, I just highly recommend just putting on YouTube for like 2 minutes just to watch. Just type in any Dylan Harper basketball video and you'll just see the kid like
I mean,
dominate.
personally, if you're gonna watch anything, either watch the showcase game he had against Camden, him and Bosco against Camden, because if Bosco doesn't have Dylan in that game, they probably lose by 40. Like he's the only thing that really kept him in the game. Other than that shooter, the white shooter at the beginning, I don't know his name, but he hit like four threes in the first quarter. But
luckily we got to watch that one in person at Kane, so that was pretty cool. But and again, that goes back to the relationships thing. Sorry to cut you off, I didn't mean to.
No, you're good.
But that goes back to the relationship thing. Like the Rutgers staff walks in and it's TJ, it's Carl Hobbs, mind you, not at Rutgers anymore, and Steve Peichel and Brandon Knight. And and it's literally like the four of them just hanging out in the corner. And then all of a sudden Ron Harper Sr. comes in and sits he like literally moved Hobbs and was like, hey, like move over. I'm sitting in between here. Like, and it's like, all right, there you go. And then all of a sudden after the game, obviously Dylan wasn't too happy because of the loss. He obviously wants his team to win, but you see Maria Harper like going up to Brandon Knight and the rest of them and just like giving him a hug and saying, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. The relationship between the family and the staff there is just such a big key. Yeah. And end of the day, it sounds like mom wants him to stay home. And as we know, with most of these recruitments, mom wins out more than not.
Yeah, especially when mom is your basketball coach.
Yeah, that helps too.
Probably the biggest influence on you, both as a person and a player. So
yeah
pretty big deal there. But the other tape I was going to recommend is there's some full game highlight tape of AOT playing with Dylan and Ace that if you want to get an idea of how they might be used together, both in the offensive game, defense, like pick and roll game, there's no better tape to watch them than actually playing together. So that thankfully is available. Now let's put our daydream caps on a bit here. With two guys like Dylan and Ace, with a guy like Gavin Griffiths, with a guy, assuming Moat Mag comes back, with probably a couple transfers, what is the ceiling for this team in 2 years?
In 2024, I think it's you're gonna make a pretty nice run.
Ceiling
in the tournament.
Is the roof.
Yeah, seriously. Now they're not done either, mind you. They're not gonna just stop at 3. They have 5 ships available or 4 ships available in 2024 now.
So let's actually forget the I don't want to put too much pressure on projecting where this team's ceiling could be.
I mean, we're gonna look back.
Bad segue by me, but there is a good segue because there's a couple players in the class of 2024 that Dylan might have a little influence over.
Yes.
So let's talk about them.
All right, so let's just start with this. Looking at the scholarship chart right now for 2024, 2025, add Dylan probably minus Cliff because I don't think there's no way Cliff stays for a fifth year.
He could come back for that season, but yeah.
Yeah, so technically Cliff has 2 years, which a lot of people don't realize, but that it just ain't happening in my opinion. So mind you add Dylan minus Cliff, you're still at 4 scholarships remaining. I'm going to say probably 3 scholarships because I do think they probably get a 1 or 2 year guy via the portal this upcoming season. So let's just drop it down to 3, maybe even 2, which whatever, that's fine. Now you have Tyler Betsy, who's up at St. Thomas More, who's very close to these guys, very close to Dylan.
Tyler Betsy plays on the New York Rens AU team with Dylan.
And he also he's raved about Rutgers in the past. When he talked to Rob Cassidy, our national recruiting analyst at Rivals, he raved heavily about Rutgers. Now, I'm hearing it's going to be tough because there are some significant NIL offers on the table from schools. Like UConn's making a heavy push for him to stay home. He is a Connecticut kid at the end of the day, which I never really blame a kid no matter what state they're from. If they want to stay home and play for their state school, I totally respect it. That's kind of the same case with Dylan in New Jersey and now maybe Betsy in Connecticut. So that's going to be a tough pull. But with 2 significant players on the court, or I guess committed, I should say, add in Somerville, who's another pretty damn good player in his own right, and people are going to want to play with these kids.
Oh yeah.
So maybe that could sway Betsy a little bit because he already had a good relationship with the staff. So that's something to keep an eye on. Another one is Nas Cunningham. So Nas, I checked in with a couple different people. There were some rumors this offseason that he might go back to the high school route to finish up his senior year and then kind of decide what he wants to do after that, whether it be go pro, go G League, any of the other stuff. It does sound like right now he's going to stick with that professional route, whether that be overtime elite, G League, overseas, NBL, whatever. There's so many outlets now that you could take. But he's a guy to keep an eye on because if he does go to Don Bosco and play with Dylan for a year, I could see Rutgers pushing pretty hard because he does have the Scarlet Knights in his top 5. He was projected to commit to Memphis a couple months ago, but it didn't happen. So now they're gone. They're out of. I wouldn't say they're out of the top 5 per se, but it seems like if you were going to commit to Memphis, you probably would have done it already, right?
Yeah,
So
that seemed weird that he didn't quickly commit afterwards. Either he didn't like what he heard, or he was just deciding to change his mind and hold off for a bit.
yeah, so he didn't commit to Memphis when he went on a visit. Kansas, I don't know if they would take him. Duke, it sounds like he's a backup option, and then it comes down to Rutgers or UCLA. And if you're not going to go the pro route, maybe just you join your teammate and good buddy Dylan Harper over at Rutgers, and then you got another. I know he's a guard technically. He's got guard skills, but he's another one that's grown crazily over the past couple of years. He's like 6'7" now. I know last time I saw him was where was he at? Not Roseville Catholic, Gil St. Bernard's, and he was playing with Mackenzie Mbako, and he was like a 6'2", lengthy 6'2" guard, like 6'3" maybe. But he's had a huge growth spurt now, and now he's like a full blown forward. But he has guard skills, so he's still skinny. He still needs to pack on some pounds. But at this point, I want to say it's not as necessary for basketball recruits as it is for football recruits when it comes to the transition to high school to college. But you see Kevin Durant dominate, and he's what, rail thin, like.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, so those are the 2 names I'm keeping a close eye on. I'd also take a quick peek into Jalil Bethia. Rutgers has been after him for a while. He's an Archbishop Wood Catholic kid over at in Pennsylvania. He's another one that's had a huge jump. Rutgers has been on him for quite some time before he was even ranked in the top 150. Now he's ranked 33. He's taken leaps and bounds the past off season. He's really dominated. He's looked really good. He's not tall, but he is kind of a taller guard, and that's kind of what Pikel likes, obviously. But he's been really great for them. I think he plays for Boo EYBL team. I forget what it is. One of those elite teams, whatever they are. But yeah, I was watching his tape the other day too, and he's be a nice fit. But again, it goes back to Delquan Warner. There's only one ball on the court, and
Yep.
I don't know how many players are going to be able to touch it when you have Dylan and Ace and Lathan and Gavin Griffiths, and you're going to have an all 4 / borderline all 5-star lineup. Like it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. No, you kind of got to wake up and pinch yourself to make sure that it's real because
Yeah.
For years we'd been burned by the high 4-star, low 5-star who wanted to come to Rutgers, just didn't work out. Everybody remembers like the Lance Thomases of the world, and now we're getting those guys. And
Yeah.
now it's I think we all collectively pretty much trust in Pike, and now it's just Pike's. We're gonna get to see, I feel like, Pike's true ceiling as a coach now that he has these elite talents. We know he's a really good coach. He's a good motivator, guys. He's a good game planner. Now, what can he do with top end talent? I think it'll be very interesting to watch because he's never had that before at any level that he was at, other than as an assistant, I should say, not as a head coach.
Yeah. This is this is your chance basically. If you're Pike, this is the one. Now, if you succeed, this could be a thing that's just going to continue. And I don't want to say you're one of the new bloods, but it's pretty damn close. Especially with others like they're pursuing Darius Adams pretty heavily, and he's down the street, Manasquan, New Jersey type kid, and he just keeps dominating the EYBL circuit too. So it's like it could just be a trend that could keep happening.
It could be. We just gotta. I think this class, the 24 class, is so important because you saw what happened with Shire and Duke's first class, where he got 3 of the top 5 kids in the country. And it's not going to affect him. It already hasn't. I want to throw that caveat out there. But the class of 2023 for them, they landed the number 1, the number 3, and the number 5 kid. and none of them are projected to be lottery picks. None of them are even projected to be close to lottery picks between Tariq Whitehead, Kyle Filipowski's coming back, and Dirk Lively, like you previously mentioned. So for Pike, he's got to put these guys in a position to thrive and become, the lottery picks that they probably would be if they could enter from high school. You just got to keep them on that same trajectory. Obviously, injuries are one thing, but you just got to showcase them and make sure that their skills and talents are showcased in the offense and develop them, because defensively they're going to be raw. Like Ace is a really good high school defender, but college is a different game. There's certain things that I'm sure Pike will be able to teach him and improve him pretty quickly as well. So
well, you remember our pod with Rob Cassidy. He said he talked to NBA scouts and they're all saying Ace could be a top 5 kid, like top 5 pick. Like potential is there. It's just doing it on the court at the college level, and I wouldn't be shocked if he was a top 5 pick when it's all said and done. And you'll see his name on the wall with the knighthood, and you'll see the little plaque next to it, next to Quincy Doobie and Hamadi Najai, and that's all I got off the top of my head. It's been a while, so this could be the changeup that they need.
Yep. So guys, we've been teasing it for a while. Richie finally pulled the trigger. Crystal ball. Hill and Harper to Rutgers. Richie, anything else you wanted to add before we sign off?
Yeah, fuck you, Dan Dacic.
Oh man, what a total shit show he is. Like going at 22, 23
Ron, Jordan Bohannon, and now he's posting like, oh, come check out my show today on YouTube where I'm gonna talk about the backstory between us, and it's like no one gives a shit, dude. Like retweeting your own tweets at like fucking midnight, like come on, like you got ratioed. Take the L.
He posted an article. I guess he works for Outkick, and it was talking about how Rutgers, was trying to elevate its NIL game, and Dan Dacic like quote tweeted it and was saying like, Rutgers players are whining now about this, and this is what they asked for, or something like that. And then Ron, clapped back at him, and Dan Dacic in a very like belligerent way was just like shitting on Ron, and Ron was like, yeah, don't come at me with the how's dad bullshit the next time we see each other. Miss me with that. And Dan Dacic was like, I haven't seen you in 5 years. And Ron was saying how he saw him last year. So I trust Ron's memory better than fucking worm brain Dan Dacic more. So I don't know, it's embarrassing for Dan. Take a lap. You're an adult. Was bad.
My favorite part is when Ron's tweet or his response was like, I seen, well, it was the same one. I seen you last year, clown, and all you talked about how Bob Knight had you touching lines after my pops torched your sorry ass. I found the box score. Dan Dacic went 0 of 3.
Yeah, he scored 0 points.
Yeah.
Ron Harper Sr. had 26. Miami
13 rebounds too.
Yeah, was Indiana number 1 at that time?
I don't know, because the box score is so goddamn old, so I don't even know. Like the box score was still on paper. I guess it's still on paper technically now. There's a book, so to speak, but it was just funny. And if you read all the responses, like every single fan base is just not a fan of him. Like it's just like even Indiana fans are ripping into Dacic, Iowa fans are ripping into Dacic. Like the guy's just a fucking loser. Like I don't know what that was all about, but like man, I don't know what the hell you drank on a fucking Tuesday night, but damn, dude, put it down like that, or just put the phone down if you're gonna do that. Don't even pick it up. Like now he's gonna go on Outkick and be like, Ron said this, like maybe he was right. Maybe I did see him last year, but I still bitched him out. And it's like, no, dude, you lost the Twitter battle. You're not gonna see him in person because you're not gonna talk to him in person going forward, and that's it. Like just. God, sorry, but I gotta get a couple curses out here real quick. He's just a pussy. He's just a big pussy. Awful. Like
this is a good vibes podcast today, though.
Good vibes. Fuck Dan Dacic.
Give him any more oxygen. Richie, I'm sure we'll have more on this in his article about the FutureCast and on the boards.
Harper,
so
not
stay tuned to
Dacic.
that. Yeah, not on Dacic. The Harper FutureCast.
Dacic. I keep saying that.
Yeah, I'm not even going to worry about saying that guy's name wrong or right. Who cares? That guy sucks. But anyway, thanks again for listening, guys. This has been another edition of the Night Report podcast. Signing off.